Hello everyone, I'm Marco Lamano in for Don Brennan. Thanks for joining us on the SNN Evening Edition. Can I just say, you're in for me, I'm in for Kathy, Annette's in for Jenna, but technically we're all usually here in the morning. So like we're subbing, but we're not really subbing.
You can bring your dog into a Miami Heat game?
Yeah, it didn't look like a service animal, so I don't know what happened.
How excited are they to be back?
They're very excited, especially
How
after...
excited are you guys to be back?
Really?
When you think about the leaders who are going to be recognized tonight, they're going to be recognized for fostering the arts and culture in Manatee County and helping to build it.
Here's some history as to why this is all happening to begin with. Ukraine used to be in the Soviet Union, but in '91, 92% voted for independence, which was a huge blow to the USSR. I'm still very curious if Florida will be part of the national trend, Don, or if it'll be its own thing. Because right now, a lot of the other results that we've been peeking at nationwide have been a lot more competitive. How long do you think it would take to actually put such a thing on the ballot for voters? One thing I've read about one of the pillars to your plan was housing czar idea, who would coordinate with local governments pursuing housing grants. And he's not kidding when he says, same as me, because we were talking before the interview how we're both on a CPAP and it changed our lives.
Yes.
With Georgia law, by the by, if you do try to follow the Georgia race, you need a majority of the vote to actually win and avoid a runoff election. So say, hypothetically, by the end of the night, Herschel Walker or Raphael Warnock had like 49.9% of the vote and they were leading, that still wouldn't be enough to avoid a runoff because there is a libertarian with about 2% of the vote, as you saw on that graphic. So it's going to be interesting to see of the roughly 709,000 votes remaining, how they're split amongst the two major party candidates and if that can send any of them above 50%. Because if not, then we can expect another election in January, just like we could last time Raphael Warnock won, where he had not gotten a majority in November, but he was able to secure one in January. He actually had fewer votes in November, but his Republican opponent did not have 50 plus. So they narrowed it down to those two, and he was able to get an actual majority. Whether or not Herschel Walker does with 49.6% right now remains to be seen. It looks like it edged down from 49.7 to 49.6. But overall, a very wide swath of Republicans winning in the U.S. House in the state of Florida right now. I'm still very curious if Florida will be part of the national trend, Don, or if it'll be its own thing. Because right now, a lot of the other results that we've been peeking at nationwide have been a lot more competitive, whereas Florida has just been a Republican rout, really. This is probably the Republicans' best showing since really 2002, when Jeb Bush won by 56% of the vote to Bill McBride, who won 43%, and coincidentally, too, Ron DeSantis, just like Jeb Bush, was able to win Miami-Dade County. Jeb Bush actually is the last Republican to win Miami-Dade County. He won it twice. So Ron DeSantis couldn't win it against Andrew Gillum, but does win it against Charlie Crist this year, Don. The issue of abortion rights will no doubt be debated here in Florida, not just in the governor's race this November, but in the Democratic primary in August between Congressman and former Governor Charlie Crist and Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried. I spoke earlier today with candidate Nikki Fried about abortion rights in the state and in America. Here's part one of our interview. What's your position on abortion rights in America and the recent decision on the Supreme Court? What would you do then on the state level as governor if you were elected? How long do you think it would take to actually put such a thing on the ballot for voters to either enshrine what was previously given in Roe v. Wade or anything similar? Let's talk a little bit about that right in the state constitution to privacy. For people who don't really know, because it's been there for a while, what is it and what does it provide?
Good to be here. Beautiful Sarasota.
Is it worth every penny?
Oh, it's gorgeous here. I mean, we kind of got unlucky with the weather today, but according to you, it's going to be better tomorrow, right?
Yes.
I'll hold you to that. My kids will hold you to that. They had a great day yesterday. Yeah, I do. I know you are. I know what green screen you stand in front of. Is it still green or is it blue?
It's green. I think it was blue back in the 80s and 90s, and then it transitioned.
I always liked the way the guys did that and knew exactly where it was. You have a monitor, are you cheating?
Yes, I'm still
There you
cheating
go.
with the side monitors and the front camera.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you've had to have worked with green screens, I gotta assume.
Yeah, not too much, believe it or not. I don't like green screen, you know? They have these things that they do with the LED screens now where it's like, and the computers where they just make a set for you. I don't like that. I don't know. I'm old school. I need to be touching, seeing stuff, you know?
You need to know what you're reacting to.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can pretend stuff, but it's nice to have the actual things there. I just don't know how fun it is for actors who are working in virtual sets, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of slightly off to that. It's kind of why the prequels were kind of weird to me for Star Wars, because like everything was green screened.
Was it all? I didn't even know that.
So much of it was. So much
Oh, yeah.
of it was them in front of the green screen.
I thought so much of the Star Wars prequels were just not good. That was what was distracting. They could have just shown the green screen, it would have been better.
The coronavirus pandemic separated most of us from friends and loved ones, but not all of us. Our Marco Lamano shows how timing is everything as people find real friendships in the virtual world in the time of COVID.
In the virtual world,
Own goal!
the party doesn't stop for Dylan Borden.
My dad brought home a computer when I was 4 years old, and since then I was playing games.
He has two brothers, one a Suncoast local and one in New York.
I've spent probably over the last month more time talking to my brother in New York than I have in the previous 5-6 months.
And not just his brothers.
My girlfriend, she's not the biggest video gamer ever, but we'll play some games where it's more of a group game. It's something where we can all come together and just hang out.
He gathered a group of his friends.
Can they actually hear us? I feel like they didn't hear before.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, sweet.
We played trivia games, word games, I died. Just like the best parties. And it's a weekly thing for Dylan, but it's a national thing for Americans. January and February were down months in video game sales year to year. Then stay-at-home orders were issued coast to coast in response to the coronavirus pandemic.
And what happened then? A spotlight was shown on video games and sales surged to $1.6 billion. That was the highest March revenue since 2008.
Do I think that contributed to the bump in sales? Absolutely. There's zero doubt.
Game designer David Jaffe created the Twisted Metal franchise in the 90s and the first God of War game in 2005. A franchise which is now one of Sony's best-selling. Jaffe says high-profile releases like Resident Evil 3
Oh my God.
and others help drive sales. But he points to the online multiplayer games that sold well. The new Doom, the new MLB The Show, Call of Duty.
It's nice to know there is a medium out there that is not only entertaining and fun, but allows you to actually get social connection with people that you can't physically see anymore.
And one game stood head and shoulders above the rest.
The Animal Crossing New Horizons game is your ticket to a relaxing, stress-free life.
Nintendo's new Animal Crossing already sold over 13 million copies, and more in its debut month than any Mario or Zelda game. The premise is simple. You go to a deserted island, interact with its animal residents, and build the island you want.
That world is so innocent and genuine and kind and colorful. I think people need that right now. That ability to walk away, at least for a little bit, from this sort of scary stuff they're hearing on the news.
The game's release just happened to coincide with the pandemic, and sometimes timing is everything, says senior editor at StereoGun.com, Tom Bryan.
You can make a masterpiece, and if it doesn't hit the zeitgeist the right way, it'll go nowhere. It'll land with a thud.
He pointed out this weird #1 song from the early 80s.
Dutch Beatle impersonators doing like a disco mega mix of Beatles covers. The reason that it hit #1 was because it was the thing that people latched onto when John Lennon died.
In the world of movies, Spider-Man's debut in 2002 broke an opening weekend record at the time. It was the first big-screen Spider-Man movie, but Spider-Man is also a New York character, and Bryan says it doubled as a Valentine to a post-9/11 New York.
The idea of New Yorkers coming together and supporting each other and rallying around a cause.
You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
It definitely, like, at that moment, hit a cultural nerve. It's an accident of timing. There's so many of those throughout the history of every popular art form.
That leads us back to the comfort of the video game.
You can feel almost that sense of normalcy by getting back into something that you've been doing and you love doing. It's virtual, but I think some of the new relationships that people have found, it's very real.
The virtual world and its real relationships and real comfort. Reporting from Sarasota, Marco Lamano, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
Marco and Jazz with an awesome story and obviously so relevant to everything right now. All you gamers out there, just some extra time to stay home and play games. That's all this says.